Hi, and welcome to WAMS Radio. Thanks for listening on this Monday afternoon. I'm Burke Allen, broadcasting live from a snowbound nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where over the weekend, even the president called it Snowmageddon. About 3 feet of snow outside our studios today, but we'll warm you up with a very warm and genuine individual. His name is Dr. Donald Pett, and he's the brains and the brawn behind the nonprofit corporation, the Educational Community. And he says his goal is to develop and popularize education and a whole new way of thinking. Dr. Pett, thanks for joining us on WAMS today.
Burke, it's a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity because, you know, the media is such a marvelous opportunity to educate the world in these days.
Well, we'd love to help you get your word out, and I know that you're the originator of the short course to mental health, the newer way of thinking. There's a ton of information about you on your website. So where to begin? What is the mission of the educational community?
Well, the mission of the educational community right now is to create a grassroots peace movement of 1 million people by the end of the year who are going to become an active voice to create world peace. The world, as everyone knows, is not in very good condition, and we have lots of evidence that, given the spread of weapons of what I call ultimate destruction, we only have a matter of time to get our thinking straightened out, and we do have the ability to do that. So why not go ahead and let's get the job done.
If you'd like to visit Dr. Don Pett online, the website is anwot.org. That's ANWOT.org, and we should tell our listeners what ANWOT stands for, I guess.
Well, ANWOT stands for a newer way of thinking. You know, when Einstein realized the power of nuclear fission, he said that it was only a matter of time before we self-destruct. Unless we do the one most certain thing that can make a difference, we need to develop and create a newer way of thinking. So that's really our mission. We want to teach people those wisdoms that enable anyone to succeed in making their life joyous and fulfilled. And the interesting thing is the very same skills, the wisdoms that lead people to have a happy, fulfilled life, are those skills that can make a difference as far as world peace. It's a matter of spreading the message. Domino effect. We have to start right here in our own home, and then you know how a domino works. One by one, it'll eventually get to those people that we're having difficulty communicating with right now.
Our guest today is Dr. Donald Pett. He's behind anwot.org and his nonprofit educational community, which has some pretty lofty goals. But here's a guy that can do it. And doctor, so that you don't have to toot your own horn, I'll do it for you. You spent a lot of time here in our neck of the woods getting your psychiatric residency at Johns Hopkins, medical training at the University of Maryland. And one of the things that I imagine you're very proud of is your time creating the first educational community in the prison system in Lexington, Kentucky, in their narcotics hospital. Now, tell me about what that experience must have been like.
Well, I was part of my military assignment. I had spent a couple of years as the chief of the male addiction service at the largest federal narcotics hospital, which was in Lexington, Kentucky. And during that time, I asked to have a separate building, recruited about 30 individuals to go through this educational process of learning the skills to manage their lives better. And we had a great experience. We asked what should the name of this place be, and one of the inmates said, "I think this is education, so we ought to call it the educational place." Another one said, "Well, this is based on the community we've set up," so we came to the educational community, and that was the start. And from that point, many of these individuals went on to become drug counselors. We got the state of Connecticut to make an approval of that allowed people to be hired by the state on the basis of life experience rather than simply education, and many of them were very successful. So I'm really proud of that experience, and we've replicated that kind of experience in other places in a private practice situation, and that's what we need to do to create a larger educational community where people can share their wisdoms with one another.
Doctor, when you work with these gentlemen, many of them, I'm sure, addicted for many, many years to hard drugs, heroin, PCP, cocaine, and more. How do you take a guy like that who has had such a difficult time for such a long time and turn them, and then, what can we take from that experience to apply to everyday life?
Well, when people realize that there's a way to lead a better life, and they have some direction. Most people don't have direction. That individuals, unfortunately, grow up getting the wrong kind of direction. When we're children, we're like parrots, we mimic whatever is around us. And many of us have never had the opportunity to learn. Give people the opportunity to learn, give them education, and it really turns them on. Most help, is self-help with and through other people. Our job is just to provide the information, provide the knowledge. Knowledge is really, really powerful.
And do you believe then that you can break that cycle of you mentioned as a child you parrot what you see around you from your parents or other individuals. If you've got a bad childhood, bad earlier experiences, how difficult is it to break out of that mold and really do something with your life?
Well, we know from experience that many people do it. That's not the issue. It's really providing the opportunity. But we see multiple examples of people who, once they develop their, the cortex, the ability to learn, doesn't fully develop until the age of 18, and we don't have any control of what people expose us to until that period of time. But when we get to be an adult, we're like a sieve. We can learn very rapidly. So I'm very optimistic, and I've seen it happen so many times. We just need to provide the opportunity, and that's part of the goal of the educational community.
If you'd like to join in the conversation, our telephone number is 718-506-1944, 718-506-1944 if you're listening to this interview live. And, of course, it will be posted online at Dr. Pett's website, nwhat.org.
I'd like to mention that we're preparing right now, I'm preparing over 100 short video tips that are going to explain each of these wisdoms, and we're going to make them available free to anyone for the asking. They'll be delivered to one's own home free at their most convenient time and place every 2 days, a new wisdom. So that's something that might be of interest to the audience.
And if folks are interested in receiving those free videos, how would they go about getting them?
They just go to nwhat.org, our website, anwt.org, and we'll have these prepared within probably the next month. We're just getting them prepared to go online now. And at that time, all they have to do is request them, and every day, through an automatic responder service, they'll be delivered to their home 2 days every other day.
That's fantastic, and that's free. Now, and that leads me to ask you, Doctor, an awful lot of folks in positions similar to yours, do their job, and in doing their job, they help others, but certainly there is a financial motivation there. I get the feeling from you that money is not the primary motivation behind you.
Money is absolutely not a motivation. We're interested in capturing people's passion for world peace. Everyone, it seems to me, wants world peace, but the problem is that individuals don't organize. They wish or pray for world peace, but that doesn't get the job done. Well, terrorists, even if they have a small number of people, they organize their followers and they take action. We need to get our grassroots peace movement going so we can work together to take action. I have 7 great-grandchildren. I have great children, have a lot of loved ones. That's my motive for doing this. Our program, our nonprofit program, is privately funded. We're not looking for a cent from anybody. We just want to have their passion to become a partner in the world peace movement.
Was there an aha moment, Don, that made you say, geez, this is what I need to do with my life?
Well, it wasn't an aha moment. I was really very fortunate in my education that one of my mentors, my favorite mentor at Johns Hopkins, was the world expert on the psychological issues of war and peace. His name was Jerome Frank. He's now deceased, but he made quite an influence, and it made me aware that we really can do something about world peace, and it's such a major problem that most people don't realize. So we just have to get to work on it.
It's sort of beyond your grasp. It's such a large concept, and I guess I would ask you if you had the ability to be in the ear of some of the world leaders, the president or other prime ministers around the world, other leaders of nations, how would you begin that world peace initiative?
Well, I think the same way we're trying to begin now, we need to educate ourselves. Most people have the idea that it's those guys' problem out there.
Right.
And we need to realize that if we take no action, we're part of the problem. We're not solving the problem. We're actually part of the problem. And we don't like to realize it, but we create much of the problem ourselves because we tend to divide the world into good people and bad people, and we're usually on the good side. That creates the kind of a dichotomy. Well, you know how that goes, don't you? It's
Sure.
always the other guy's fault. And what we really need to do to get started is to point the finger to ourselves. So I would urge our world leaders to look at themselves. And even though I'm an optimist, I think some of our most dangerous world leaders are really not very amenable to education. I'm not sure Hitler or Ahmadinejad at this point or bin Laden are susceptible to education. But their followers certainly have a desire for their loved ones for peace and security. Those are the individuals we can get to. And, the most dangerous leaders are only powerful because their followers are willing to blindly accept what they say. So I think we can get to those people who are their followers, and that way we're going to remove the power of those people who really threaten the world.
We're talking with Dr. Don Pett, and he has an incredible goal to get 1 million people involved in a world peace movement in the year 2010. And it's a goal that you can find out more about by visiting Don on his website, and we'll spell out the acronym. It's for a newer way of thinking, ANWOT.org. That's NWOT.org. Don, it's been said many times that a lack of education, primarily with many of the Middle Eastern terrorist groups, is what really drives that. That's what causes people to buy into these more radical elements of their leadership. It sounds like that dovetails very nicely with the mission of your group.
Well, it's a lack of appropriate education. Most people get appropriate education. The most dangerous education that we have, and it's not just terrorists, the most dangerous education can be summed up in a simple sentence. It's the sentence that people believe that my way is the right way, and therefore, through some authority or power, it's my opportunity, or it's my obligation to get other people who have the wrong way to conform to my way. It's a simple way. It's an educational point of view that people are brought up with.
Now, you mentioned earlier in the conversation that you have a military background. How does this peace movement square with that military background, and what would you say to our military men and women who may be listening to you today?
Well, first of all, this was part of when I was in my training in medicine. The government offered a plan that I could work for them as a doctor when I finished my training. So I really wasn't a military man. I had a military obligation of a couple of years. So I don't consider myself a military person. But the fact is that until we can educate people, there are dangerous people that we do have to maintain our muscle. It's just not a matter that we can get everybody to be educated and happy. We have to do something to deter and keep the lid on. We're bargaining for time now, and our military people are the means we do that. They're very brave individuals, and they have my greatest respect because they are going to give us a little more time to educate the people that can change the world.
Dr. Pett, we've got about 30 seconds left. Why don't you give our listeners your website and tell them about the free video offer once more?
Well, I have 2 books that are free to anyone who would like to download them or read them on the internet. There's a number of other things, what I call the 7 mind-freeing, life-changing, world-saving word switches that are easy to learn, that make a difference in people's life. And we're going to start a a telephone interview program where people can get on and have direct discussion with me. So there are a number of things planned if they just go to the website, and it's all free.
Dr. Donald Pett has been our guest today on WAMS Radio. That website is nwot.org. Thanks for listening. Now make it a great day.
And I thank you.